Most of us might have already heard the news that Warner Bros. Have almost sealed a deal with Netflix for their buyout for a whopping $82.7 billion. They won the bidding war and now own all the studios and streaming rights from Warner Bros. The acquisition will take place after the split of Discovery from the company. Now, what does this mean for us gamers? Because Warner Bros. Has some good studios under their belt. Although they ignored them and didn't really care for them, these studios like Rocksteady, NetherRealm, and others have produced some really good games. In this video, we will talk about all of that. So sit back, subscribe, and let's get started. Alright, so let's talk about what Netflix actually gets that matters to us gamers. The first thing is the IP. They now get access to some of the biggest names in entertainment. DC, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, all of that. These are franchises that already have huge fan bases and long histories with games. So Netflix suddenly has control over worlds that can easily become big gaming projects if they want to push them in that direction. Then there are these studios, the ones that we really care about. NetherRealm, the people behind Mortal Kombat. Rocksteady, the team that made the Arkham games. Avalanche, the studio behind Hogwarts Legacy. TT Games, the Lego games. WB Montreal, all of these teams are now under Netflix. And this is a big difference compared to what Netflix Games has been doing till now. They mostly work with small teams and mobile games. Things like Red Dead Redemption for mobile was the biggest project they have, I think. They never had in-house heavy hitters. Warner Bros. Had those studios but never really used them properly and didn't support them the way they should have. Now Netflix gets that entire lineup handed to them. So what does that mean? It means Netflix suddenly has the ability to make big games based on big IP without needing to license anything or outsource everything. If they want a new Batman game, they can greenlight it. If they want another Harry Potter game, they have the team who already made one. If they want to finally use Game of Thrones properly in gaming, they can do that too. Imagine riding a dragon across the Three Kingdoms or fighting one. The main thing here is that Netflix now owns both the IP and the developers who can build games using that IP. That gives them full control. Whether they use it properly or repeat the same mistakes Warner Bros. Made, we will have to wait and see. What I do fear is that they might not think too much of this division just like Warner Bros. If you take a look at the games they have now, it's games like Bloons and stuff like that. Things that older people play on their phones. What they do is that they offer the games for free as long as you have their subscription, kind of like Xbox Game Pass, or you can buy the full game outright. Now, it does not make much sense that people would open up Netflix to play, let's say, a new Batman game. They would rather play something like Bloons for a quick minute or two and then continue surfing, which is beneficial for Netflix. If they actually want to do something with those studios, the obvious move is to push into real AAA games. Up until now, Netflix games did small teams and mobile stuff included in the subscription. They never had in-house heavy hitters. Now they have teams that build big console and PC games. That changes what they can greenlight without asking anyone else. So what would that look like? Netflix could fund full-priced, single-player games tied to shows, or back long-term live service titles that keep players hooked between seasons. They wouldn't need to license Batman or Hogwarts from someone else. They can sign off faster, sync release dates with the show drop, and keep more control over how the game ties into the IP. That doesn't mean it's easy. True AAA costs a lot and takes years. Netflix has tried to scale before and pulled back when results didn't match expectations. Also, owning studios doesn't guarantee they'll leave those teams alone. If Netflix treats them like quick revenue generators or cuts them for quarterly numbers, you get delays, layoffs, and half-finished games. Exactly what Warner Bros. Did. Shadow of Mordor was such a good game with the backing of such a famous movie series of Lord of the Rings. The Nemesis system that they introduced was groundbreaking, but what they followed that up with was such a disaster. Shadow of War must have been one of the worst things to come out of that studio. Same with the makers of the Batman series. Rocksteady made such big waves with the trilogy of Batman games that went on to make this live service crap called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which, frankly, ended up killing the studio's reputation instead. This was mainly because there was no real direction in the games they were producing. If Netflix is the same thing as Warner Bros., these studios will continue to put up such slops every single time. It's also not as easy as just giving money to them and expecting to produce miracles. Another real question is how they'll pay for it. Netflix currently bundles games with subscriptions and avoids microtransactions. That works for small stuff. For big budget games, they may need premium pricing, DLC, or live monetization to justify the spend. That changes the relationship with players and could conflict with their current approach. Short version, the acquisition gives Netflix everything it needs to make AAA games. Whether we actually get big, high-quality titles depends on whether Netflix commits time, money, and independence to these studios or just squeezes them for short-term gain.
So you already know they now own the IP and the teams. The logical next move is to tie games to shows and movies in a real way. Netflix can drop a show and launch a game that hits at the same time or one after the other. That's a direct way to get attention and keep people in the world longer. Netflix already runs games inside the app and just made big moves to put games on TV, so they aren't starting from zero on the technical side. They have over 100 mobile and cloud titles available to subscribers. That makes it easier to push players from a show page into playable stuff without extra downloads or storefront friction. I don't really know about the AAA games and how much more effort that would require them to put it in. But if they find a way, they could easily promote it along with the related show, which can pull more people and make them stay on their site for longer duration. Owning both the shows and the games means Netflix can control timing and promotion. Want to promote a new Batman series? Put the game on the show page, feature it in the app, sync events with season drops. That kind of coordinated push is something traditional publishers can't do at the same scale inside a global streaming platform. One big problem they will face is that the hardware required to play those said AAA games will be huge. Many people who watch Netflix to chill don't have those kinds of rigs. That's where cloud gaming comes in. Netflix has been working on cloud and TV Play integration. Cloud delivery lets players jump into big games without high-end hardware, and a Netflix-built cloud path could put AAA experiences on living room TVs quickly. That lowers the barrier for casual viewers who might try a tie-in game after watching an episode. Discovery and promotion are huge. Netflix's recommendation engine already surfaces shows and movies. If they use that same system to push games tied to hits, even niche titles get a bump. That turns passive viewers into active players more often than a separate storefront would. There are commercial questions though. Will Netflix bundle big-ticket games into the base subscription like their mobile titles? Or will they charge a premium for premium games and DLC? Bundling helps retention, but high-budget AAA needs revenue to match costs. Netflix can promote and distribute better than anyone, but it still has to pay the bills.
Now let's talk about what this all might mean for us as gamers. First off, subscription and exclusivity. Because Netflix will own the IP, the studios, and their streaming business, there's a real chance games based on big franchises become part of the Netflix library, or get locked behind it. That can mean some games are never released on other platforms, or are only playable on Netflix. Could be good if you already have Netflix, but it also limits choice. At the same time, Netflix might try to reuse its subscription model. Free games for subscribers, and for everyone else, they could buy it at the regular one-time price of $60 or $70. That makes sense for mobile or light games, but for AAA, high-budget efforts, that model might break. If they keep subscription only, they might underfund games, or cut content to save money. If they shift to premium pricing, DLCs, or live service monetization, that's a different ballgame. Either way, they will have to find a balance between what works for mobile games and what AAA games demand. There's also the question of whether they keep making high-quality games or just churn out quick cash-ins. We already talked about how owning studios and IP doesn't guarantee quality. If Netflix treats the studios as cash machines and pushes them to churn games fast, we might get sloppy games, cancellations, or unfinished projects. That would be especially bad if they rely on subscription income rather than selling full games. Mainly because Netflix subscribers mainly subscribe for the shows and movies. While there might be some gamers, it will still be more beneficial for them to just throw out slops for less money if they think the gaming division won't work in the long run. Also, there will be the question of what will happen to the already present games. I don't have any numbers about the player base for any of the games for Netflix and whether or not they like it, or whether they even know they exist or not. So if they make the new game with the same visibility and focus, there is no telling even if a new Batman Arkham game comes out, whether it will be pushed enough for it to be popular enough. About the risks, there are plenty. First is scale. Netflix is stepping into one of the most expensive, slow, and brutal industries out there. Making a proper AAA game is not like commissioning a new season of a show. There's no guaranteed release window, no formula, no easy fix when something breaks. If Netflix decides the returns aren't coming fast enough, they can yank funding, cut staff, or cancel projects. They've done it with shows, which are easier to predict their trajectory, so they will definitely do it with games. Then there's the pressure on the studios. The teams they bought are talented, but talent dies when a parent company starts forcing deadlines, budgets, and cross-promotion. If Netflix tries turning every game into a marketing tool for a show, the quality drops. If they push for live service systems in places they don't belong, the games get bloated. And if a game underperforms, they'll blame the studio instead of the decisions that caused it. Another risk is fragmentation. Netflix might get tempted to lock games behind its subscription or make them exclusive to one platform. That sounds good for Netflix shareholders, but it cuts players out. Same problem if they shift every franchise into one ecosystem. If everything turns into a Netflix-only funnel, it stops being about good games and starts being about trapping users. And of course, there's the uncertainty of their long-term commitment. Streaming companies love big announcements, but they also love cutting projects the moment numbers dip. Games can't survive that kind of volatility. If Netflix loses patience after a couple of flops, they might scale down everything, leaving studios half supported and projects half done. But there is also the possibility of leaving these studios completely alone. Let them do whatever they want. Netflix gives out the budget and lets them take it from there. Then the blame will fall completely into the studios and they won't have anything to hide behind, which I think should be the move for them. For Netflix, it will be risk-free, well, at least on the brand side of things, and they would have a share of the profit in which, other than the money spent, won't have any part of it. Win-win situation for them. And if the studio starts falling off, then they could cut them without any guilt. But there is this one big side that I have not considered till yet, and it's completely ignoring and abandoning the studios altogether. Leave them to die and leave hundreds of devs jobless. This is a very big possibility. We have to remember that Netflix is a streaming platform that offers games as a side thing. They bought HBO because it was a major competitor, one of the biggest other than Prime and others. They essentially are trying to monopolize the market, and having games, AAA games on the side serves no purpose for them. And that would mean the doom of these studios altogether.